Good afternoon. In our lifetime and our kids' lifetime, for life as we know it, for all of humanity, this earth is our shared home. I know that I've heard that climate change is perhaps controversial around here. There's excellent data now that has accumulated over many years that helps us understand what's going on with climate change. The scientific community has studied this issue for a long time and come to reasonably good mathematical models that can predict climate change many decades into the future and understand what has happened for decades in the past. That's very different from predicting the weather next week, though. That is actually a much harder problem. And so I've looked at what the National Academy of Sciences, which is an independent body of the best scientists in the country, looked at what they have concluded. And I think we understand now that human-induced global climate change is the dominant factor. And that helps us, by understanding that, helps us make reductions that hopefully will have an impact on making the Earth a more comfortable place to live in. The signs of climate change are all around. What's going on in the Arctic and the Antarctic might be the most visible, the retreating glaciers, the disappearing sea ice. But some of the most devastating impact, in fact, can be in places in the world where there's already a significant amount of extreme weather and stress. And so if you look at what's happening in the Sahel region of Africa, not everything that's going on climatically in the Sahel is due to human-induced climate change, but climate change can make the droughts and famines worse and can destabilize the region even more, politically and economically. The US is also experiencing droughts in the Southwest that may continue and worsen. And as the oceans get acidified and as sea levels rise, the impact of hurricanes will get worse, and the regions, the beautiful beaches are going to get inundated with water, and some of Florida's Everglades are expected to get inundated with water. So I hope that you've had an opportunity to have your spring break in Florida this year. If not, I checked on the weather, and it's still very good weather. Don't ask the climate scientists that, but the weather folks think that we still have nice weather in Florida this year and for years to come, we hope. The problem with long-term predictions is that carbon dioxide stays in the atmosphere for a long time and is dissolved in the oceans and stays there for a long time. The predictions are that by the end of the century, the Earth will be about 6 degrees warmer than it is now. My message to you is that there is hope, and we do have the opportunity to significantly reduce that impact and make the Earth a cooler place than it would be if we continued doing business as usual. The US and China are the largest contributors to carbon dioxide emissions in total, but on a per capita basis, the US and Canada contribute the most, 20 tons for each of us every year of carbon dioxide. So I think that the US has the opportunity to create new low-carbon technologies for ourselves and to offer to the rest of the world. The US Energy Administration, Information Administration has predicted that for the next 30 or 40 years, we'll still be using about fossil fuels for about 80% of our energy. That is not good news. The McKinsey Global Institute, which is an independent private consulting business, thinks that we need to reduce carbon dioxide emissions by about a factor of 10 in the next 30 to 40 years. That's going to be a significant challenge. The other thing that the McKinsey Institute did was to look at the costs of reducing CO2 emissions and found that, in fact, there are a lot of things that can be done for no cost or, in fact, with cost savings. And some of the things that they recommended included reducing energy consumption. For the same amount of benefits, you can have technologies that consume less energy so that you're more energy efficient. They recommended looking at all kinds of low carbon technologies, including using natural gas as a fuel instead of coal, wind, solar, and so on, boosting energy research and development, and for having better environmental practices, and for stopping deforestation around the world. Just looking at energy conservation, what are the big opportunities that we should be looking at? Coal-fired power plants certainly contribute all around the world a lot of the carbon dioxide emissions, and the US has actually reduced CO2 emissions from coal-fired power plants, from power generation in general, by about 20% over the last 7 years or so. That is a significant achievement. That's great progress. It's very slow, but it's still great progress. And that's been possible because of the use of natural gas as a fuel instead of coal. When factories are built in Asia and around the world, they last for decades, and the way they're designed now is going to impact how much energy is consumed for many, many years to come. Homes and businesses that we build now will last for many years. And again, we have the opportunity to make those much more energy efficient. Cars, especially the larger cars, could be made more energy efficient. Airplanes and ships could be made much more energy efficient than they are now. And all of us are aware of opportunities for us individually to reduce energy consumption or use more energy efficient technologies. And many of us are already practicing some of those techniques. Around the world, Denmark uses wind power for nearly 100% of its electricity. Hybrid electric vehicles and electric cars are being used more and more around the world. Electric cars in city driving can save a lot of fuel, even if the electricity comes from coal-fired power plants. There's still less carbon dioxide emissions used because of the efficiency of the engine and the car in city driving especially. My third example is hydraulic fracking for natural gas production. You might not think of that as saving the planet, but in fact, the fact that we're able to produce natural gas much more natural gas at lower prices and displace coal as our main fuel for generating electricity means that that's a significant technology that's helping us. And there are many other technologies. There's no one silver bullet, but right here at IUPUI, we're working on a number of technologies that can have significant impact, and I'm just going to talk about two of those today as examples. One of them is for reduction of energy consumption or more energy efficient use of fuels. The picture on your left might be a little disturbing. It is for me, but not for the reasons that you might think. I find it disturbing because it represents the way that we burn a lot of fuel since the Industrial Revolution in gas turbines, in aircraft engines, in power plants, in furnaces. We burn fuel continuously, and the hot combustion gas pushes the atmosphere around it, and that is lost opportunity to use that energy because that does not the amount of benefit that it could have. If you take the same fuel and air and put it in a closed chamber and ignite it, you develop high pressure, and that pressure can be used to push a piston or spin a turbine and get the most out of the fuel energy. And that basic principle is what we're working on. And we've developed a device called a wave-rotor that enables us to do that in a gas turbine engine. And if this technology is applied to retrofit gas turbine engines that exist today around the world, and particularly in the US, you would be able to save about $10 billion a year in fuel costs and 100 megatons of carbon dioxide emissions just in the US alone every year. So when you come back from spring break, don't feel bad about cleaning out your barbecue, and just remember to use renewable charcoal fuel, and go easy on the lighter fuel, the petroleum lighter fuel. And if you come around to the combustion lab later on, we can help you do a better job getting those barbecue fires going. this summer. So that's one technology. Another technology that we're working on here at IUPUI is to actually use renewable energy and in the long term increase the use of wind power in particular. Offshore wind power, for example, has tremendous potential. But one of the problems with wind and solar is that when the wind blows and the sun shines, you can generate a lot of electricity, which you may not need right away. And we'd like to be able to store that and use it when it's needed. One of my colleagues has invented a seawater battery that will extract sodium and deposit sodium on an electrode while you have electricity available, and then dissolve the sodium back into the seawater and produce electricity when it's needed. So I think there is hope for a cooler Earth, and it depends on the choices we make. We can continue to pay for high carbon polluting energy, and we could deny climate change or despair that we could do something about it, or we could convince our leaders to invest in energy R&D, in clean tech workforce development, in recycling, and in deploying clean energy around the world, and make smart energy choices. Thank you.